You tell yourself you'll start in 5 minutes, then an hour passes, then the whole day, and somehow you're still tired without doing anything. It feels like laziness, but what if it isn't? What if your brain is already overwhelmed before you even begin? You wake up already thinking, not about one thing, about everything. The message you haven't replied to, the decision you're still not sure about. But something feels heavy, not physically, but mentally. Even thinking about starting feels like lifting something invisible. So you delay, you scroll, you distract yourself, you wait for motivation to arrive, but it never really does. And by the end of the day, you feel guilty because it looks like you did nothing. But inside your mind, it never stopped. Constant thoughts, unfinished decisions, background worries. It's like having 20 tabs open in your brain all at once, and each one is quietly asking for attention. This isn't laziness. This is cognitive overload. You're not avoiding effort because you're weak. You're avoiding it because your system is full. Your brain has a system called working memory, a kind of mental whiteboard where you hold and process information in real time. The research of cognitive psychologist George Miller showed us something humbling. That whiteboard can only hold roughly 4 to 7 pieces of information at once. That's it. Now think about your life. How many unfinished conversations are sitting in the background? How many decisions haven't been made? How many things are you trying to remember, track, manage, and plan simultaneously every single day? Your whiteboard isn't blank, it's covered. And when a whiteboard is covered, you can't write anything new on it. That's not laziness. That's a full system. Your brain isn't designed to handle infinite input. It's designed to prioritize, to filter, to conserve energy. So when everything feels important, your brain does something unexpected. It slows you down, not as a failure, but as protection. What you call procrastination is often your brain saying, I don't have the capacity to process more right now. To understand this, you have to understand how your brain manages effort. Imagine your mind like a control center. At the front, there's a small but powerful system called the prefrontal cortex. This is where decisions happen, where focus happens, where self control lives. But it has limited bandwidth. Like a phone with too many apps running, it starts to slow down when overloaded. Every unresolved thought, every open decision, every I should do this later consumes mental energy. This is known as cognitive load, and the brain doesn't treat all thoughts equally. Unfinished tasks are especially heavy. There's a concept called the Zeigarnik effect, which means your brain holds on to incomplete tasks more strongly than completed ones. So every time you delay something, it doesn't disappear. It stays open in the background, stacking, layering, weighing you down. Eventually, your brain reaches a threshold, and instead of pushing harder, it shuts down effort. Not because you're lazy, but because it's overloaded. Let's go deeper into the brain for a moment. When your cognitive load is high, when you're holding too many open loops, unresolved tensions, and unfinished thoughts, your prefrontal cortex starts to slow down. This is the part of your brain responsible for planning, decision making, and starting new tasks. Think of it like the CEO of your mind. When the CEO is flooded with urgent memos from every department, they stop making decisions, not because they're incompetent, because they're overwhelmed. And here's where it gets interesting. When the prefrontal cortex goes quiet, another system takes over, the default mode network. This is your brain's resting state. It activates when you're not doing anything deliberate. It's responsible for mind wandering, rumination, replaying the past, imagining the future. So when you find yourself staring into space, opening your phone without meaning to, drifting from thought to thought with no clear direction, you haven't failed to focus. Your brain has shifted into a protective idling mode because the executive system was overloaded. In other words, it's not nothing. Your drifting mind is doing something. So the question isn't, how do I become more disciplined? The real question is, how do I reduce the mental load so action becomes easier? First, close open loops. Your brain hates unfinished business. Every small task you delay becomes a mental tab. So instead of trying to do everything, focus on closing loops, even tiny ones. Reply to one message, organize one file, write one sentence. Completion reduces cognitive load because your brain finally gets to say, "This is done." Second, externalize your mind. Your brain is not built to store everything, it's built to process. When you try to remember tasks, ideas, and worries, you overload your system. So move them out. Write everything down: tasks, thoughts, concerns. This is called cognitive offloading. You free up mental space by placing information outside your mind, like clearing RAM on a computer. The third step is to reduce before you begin. Before attempting a demanding task, deliberately lower your cognitive load first. This could mean making one small decision you've been avoiding, sending one message you've been dreading, or writing down one thought that has been circling in your head. Each small resolution creates space. Neuroscience calls this the Zeigarnik effect, the tendency of the brain to keep open tasks active in working memory until they're closed. Every time you close a loop, even a small one, you free up processing capacity. Fourth, shrink the entry point. When something feels overwhelming, it's often because the starting point is too big. Your brain sees the entire task as one heavy object, so it resists. The solution is simple: make the first step almost effortless. Not finish the project, but open the file. Not work out, but put on shoes. This works because of activation energy. The harder it is to start, the less likely you are to begin. Lower the entry point, and your brain stops resisting. The fifth step is to treat rest as clearing, not escape. When you stop to rest, stop completely. Not half resting while scrolling, not lying down while mentally rehearsing tomorrow. True rest, even 10 minutes of it, allows the brain's glymphatic system to clear metabolic waste, allows the prefrontal cortex to recover, and allows the default mode network to do its quiet, necessary work. Rest is not the opposite of productivity. It is how the system reset. So what's really happening? You're not lazy. You're carrying too much all at once, too many open loops, too many decisions, too much input. Your brain isn't refusing to work. It's protecting itself from overload. Think of your mind like a desk. If it's covered in papers, you can't focus on one thing. But if you clear the space, even a small task feels manageable. So the goal isn't to push harder, it's to lighten the load. The next time you feel stuck, don't ask yourself, "Why am I so lazy?" Ask something softer: "What is my mind carrying right now?" Because underneath the delay, the distraction, the avoidance, there's usually weight. And once you see it, you can begin to release it. Not all at once, just one thing at a time. And slowly, what once felt impossible starts to feel lighter.